Coriana Cavazos. So welcome to everyone.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Okay. Before we get started, is there anything else we need to?
Yeah, Ken, if you could just remind everyone that could they stay muted until it's their opportunity to speak so that we don't get back a big reverb.
Yes, please. Okay. Stay muted until you need to comment on something or a building that we're discussing. So let's start with the PowerPoint, Elizabeth.
Okay, on this slide, guys, there we go. And I was just gonna say, this slide here is just a reminder, steps that we can take and that we can tell others, especially if you're a manager of an apartment building or a duplex, to remind your tenants to socially wash their hands, disinfect, and stay home in place when possible and cover their mouth when they cough. And if you see people in the common areas that's not wearing masks, it'd be great if you guys could please hang some kind of signage to say that your mask must be worn. Any additional questions while Ken is speaking, you can please put your comments in the chat and I could bring them up to Ken's attention as we go through the PowerPoint.
All right, 2820 West Wells Street. Calls for service.
So we have 7 nuisance calls for service there: 911 abuse, noise nuisance, trouble with subject, and a theft.
Thank you. DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Excuse me. Okay. Next property. In fact, is there anybody here with Barada Properties? I want to ask, please. No one. Okay. 2836 West Wells Street.
We have 0 nuisanceable calls for that address.
I'm sorry, how many calls?
0.
Okay.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Next property. 761 North 29th Street.
We have 1 nuisanceable offense there, and that's going to be a subject with weapon.
Nothing from DNS.
Now, this was one of the properties that was, sorry. This is one of the properties I had a note on along with, where's the other one on Wells? About the gang activity. What was that, Bobby?
MS-13 gang is rumored to have established themselves in this property.
Do you remember what the other property was, Bobby?
Yes, it was 2820 West Wells.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's why I wanted to. Okay, do we have any information on if this is factual or not? officers?
You're speaking about the drug dealing again? Is that
Well,
what?
MS-13 gang members or affiliation is supposed to have established themselves at
We-
these couple of properties.
We haven't had anything on our end or anything come across our desk regarding any kind of gang affiliation at these properties. However, as we know the characteristics of gangs, they don't really, make it known because they don't want the police to start messing with them, coming around, interrupting their operation. This is news to us. We would put it on our radar to look at. We can also send it to our drug card so they can check it as well.
Very good.
As far as our
I know-
district, we haven't had anything.
Okay.
I know we
Go ahead,
got
Elaine.
the information. I know we got the information from second shift. Some of the cops on second shift gave us information of the gang related activity going over there, and some property owners over in the area and managers in the other buildings has gave us information on gang activity going over there. I know second shift, a couple of second shift officers let us know of the MS-13s and also know of the Spanish Cobras that were moving in the area. And we had a long conversation with them, them letting us know that activity was going on around in that area.
When you say second shift officers, would they possibly be on bikes?
Yes, they on bikes.
All right, we can follow up with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next property. $730 North 29th Street, calls for service.
We have 0 nuisanceable offense at that location.
DNS,
We have interior orders.
anybody here from Palm Tree or Concordia Palm Tree apartments? Okay,
John, is that one order that you have there, or are there multiple orders for that unit?
It's one, but because Gary, they've been put on the special landlord list. I'm almost positive like there's a lot of things going on where Gary's working with the specific inspector who's assigned to deal with his properties.
okay.
Okay,
Or-
thanks, John.
Thank you. Next property. 2848 West Wisconsin, calls for service.
We have 0 nuisanceable offenses at that location.
We have interior orders for that. Same status as the 730 address.
Thank you. Next property. $835 North 23rd Street.
We have,
Uh,
oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Just want to clarify. So before this slide came up, it said smart assets. This is a Jamila property. So before that comes up for a question. So calls for service for 835.
We have 4 nuisanceable offenses, 911 abuse, trouble with subject, and a noise nuisance.
Anya, I'm in a meeting. Can I call you back shortly? Anything quick?
DNS,
We don't have anything for this one.
do we have anybody here today with Jamila Properties?
I don't know if you received emailed Kent, but there was an email sent saying that Jamila wouldn't be present today.
Let me call you after
Both
my meeting.
Kayla.
I didn't say,
Okay.
just to get a reminder, please put yourself on mute. Thank you. Go ahead, Bobby.
Okay, and Kayla and I believe the gentleman's name was Paul. Neither one would be available for today's meeting. However, they did ask if we could forward any notes to them that we had from the meeting.
Okay. All righty, next property. 2809 West Highland. Calls for service.
So this is not a Jamila property here. Just had a question for MPD about the Jamila property. There was at the 835 building, there was 4 nuisanceable offenses. Was that within the last month? Question 1. Question 2, are you guys working with Jamila currently to try to figure out the situation? Because if I'm not mistaken, and can't correct me if I'm wrong, they've had nuisance offenses in November as well, correct?
So the thing about Jamila Properties is we are working with them. Their point of contact is Kayla Pierce. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with her.
Yes.
She is very cooperative with us in the process of, if something comes up and we send her an email or we talk to her on the phone or an owner letter, she responds within the timely manner and tells us exactly what she's doing to take care of it. Or if she doesn't, we can request that from her. These calls that we have are for the past 2 months because we didn't have one of these landlord compact meetings in December. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Well, I understand that we didn't have it in December. That's why I was asking Kent, were there nuisanceable offenses that occurred in November at our last landlord compact meeting? And you did answer the question about working with Jamila. I was just wondering, what the plan would be put in place going forward. I know they have a lot of tenants, but they also have one of the highest cost for services, and 835 has been a problem for a number of years, quite frankly.
Yeah, there was 4 calls for service in November. Supposedly there was 4 evictions also happening, which I guess would be nice to know if those actually went through or not, or what the status of those were. But that is correct. I don't know. Yeah, I would say at least since they've taken over, we've had numerous issues. So,
Sorry, Kent, I can provide a smidge more insight because I know we have new CP officer members. We had a meeting in October with Jamila, their representative, the captain, as well as Officer Wittenberger and Finkley at that point in time, about 2 of Jamila's properties, this being one of Jamila's properties. It is absolutely on our radar. And I know as we discussed, it's always a captain's determination whether or not they're going to move forward with nuisance. But we had that meeting in Q4. And when we met in Q4, certainly we discussed having a meeting in Q1. So I will circle back with the captain about that.
okay, thank you, Jessica. All right, next property. Okay, 2809 West Highland, calls for service.
We only had 1 nuisanceable offense, and that was a trouble subject at that location.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Bobby or Dwayne, can somebody enlighten me on the reports of the building being out of control and what that may entail, since we only got 1 call for trouble with subject?
No, we had some people that live in the building come to us and report that there's like homeless people that are sneaking the building and sleep in the building. And also they've been seen selling like it's been like some drug dealers in there that will sell these homeless people drugs, and they would be doing drugs in the hallway. And this is just something that was reported to us from a couple people that live inside the building. And I know usually on the warm days, it's a lot of people that stand out in front and like to drink outside of there, and also on the sidewalk that come from back and forth from that building.
Okay. Do we have anybody from Smart Assets with us today? All right. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Dwayne. Next property. 3120, 3128 West Wisconsin. Calls for service.
At 3120 West Wisconsin, we had 2 nuisanceable offenses, a battery and a robbery. And then at 3128 West Wisconsin, we had 2 nuisanceable offenses, which were 911 abuse.
And DNS.
Nothing from DNS.
Thank you. Next property. Three, 345 West Highland Boulevard. Calls for service.
We had 4 nuisanceable calls, and it was a troublous subject, fight, and an armed robbery.
We just have an interior complaint.
Now, okay. I'm not who's controlling the slides. Is that you, Bobby?
No, that's Elizabeth.
Can you just go back one, Elizabeth? Okay. That's what I thought. This is a Barada property. Not a Jamila. Okay. Next one. 808 North 24th Street. Calls for service.
At 808 North 24, we had 2 nuisanceable offenses, a noise nuisance, and a theft.
And DNS.
We have interior orders.
Okay. Next property. 2803 West Kilbourn.
We had 5 nuisanceable offenses at 2803 West Kilbourn, a battery, entry, threat, and a subject with weapon.
Excuse me, what was that number of calls for service again, please? Thank you.
5.
All right. DNS.
We have interior orders at that property.
Next property. 3104 West Wells Street. Calls for service.
We had 4 nuisanceable offenses that consist of a battery, trouble with subject, noise nuisance, and a property damage.
And DNS.
What I found here, we had fire condemnation orders.
Okay.
So John, with a condemnation order, is that for a specific unit, or is that for more of a more units in the building?
So when I looked at it, I tried seeing if I could find it. It didn't really say. It just gave me that one of our condemnation guys had orders regarding that fire. So unfortunately, I can't clarify that for you, Bobby.
Okay, thanks, John, I appreciate it.
All right. Bobby, I thought I saw something scroll across real quick on a question. You want to look next property, please?
Yeah,
2319 West Michigan, calls for service.
We had one nuisanceable offense at 2319 West Michigan, and it was a battery.
DNS,
We have interior orders for that.
thank you.
if the comment in the chat could be addressed at the end of the presentation.
Thank you. Next property.
At 2327 West Michigan, we had 3 nuisanceable offenses, theft, trouble with subject, and a property damage.
Nothing from DNS for that property.
Thank you. Next property. Somebody's jamming out to some
If you
music.
could mute yourself, whomever is unmuted, thank you.
2501 West Kilbourn.
We had 5 nuisanceable offenses at 2501 West Kilbourn. That consists of entry and trouble with subjects.
DNS,
We have plumbing cross connection inspections for that.
wow, one of the simplest things that are out there. Okay. Let's see, and that is 2501 Kilbourn. Isn't that the courthouse, right?
Yeah,
So Anderson Investment Holdings, is that who's listed as?
yes. I actually spoke with this gentleman in November, and he would like to try to acquire the lot that's next door. He did not believe that he was having incidents inside of the property. These calls may be new. I can't remember how many calls was in November for this particular address.
We had 2 calls, battery and theft, back in November.
I definitely think that it may be time for, and this more to the CPU team, Jess, that maybe we bring Mr. Anderson in to have a conversation about what's going on in this building. I'm not sure, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, this is an 8-unit building?
A little bigger than that, I believe. Apartments on the 1st and 2nd floor, front and back. I'd almost say, well, it might be close to 24. I don't think they're big units either. They might be all 1 bedrooms.
It'd be interesting to know if this is part of a, some kind of housing or living situation with the group.
Well, wasn't this, that was the original program that these gentlemen worked, or the people, they had some background or criminal background or trouble or some of nature, and then they went through the program and they were employed and stayed employed or whatever, and they put them in this housing. And again, I don't remember all the details. It's been several years since we've actually talked to anybody from 2501, but it's it's definitely a program to transition people through, get them on their feet and get them through the program. So let's follow up and make sure that that's still the case there.
Hey, Ken, I do know that he bought the property probably 2 years ago. I believe it was 2 years ago he bought the property. But I know that since he bought the property, I don't believe it's the same program in that building.
Okay, all right, thank you, Dwayne. Jessica, were you want to say something?
I'll follow up with Bobby offline.
Thank you.
No
Next
problem,
property,
Jess.
2905 West Wisconsin.
We had one nuisanceable offense at 2905 West Wisconsin, and it was a troublous subject.
No, with this property, we got information from a person that works inside the office, and they were telling us that it was a lot of homeless people coming in out the street, sleeping in their buildings, and also people. It was reporting that packages are being stolen. We asked them, was police contacted? They said they wouldn't know too much. It's just coming from people that live inside the building. We do see a lot of traffic coming back and forth from that building for the most part. But you know, we had a meeting with them earlier last year about a couple of tenants they had in there that they were evicting, and that was just a short meeting that me and Savannah had with them. We haven't had any contact with them. It just recently, just with the whole people sleeping in the hallways, and they asked us what could we do about it, or who could we point towards doing something. And we just let them know, like, you know, you have to call MPD about the situation. So I don't know why it's not any calls that, you know. And then we had that meeting with them we talked to them probably about 2 weeks ago about the situation. So they should be calling the police more often.
Yeah, remember though, Dwayne, that these calls are for nuisance criteria only. So there may be multiple calls to the building for other issues other than nuisance criteria calls. So DNS?
Just cleanup orders for the large items and furniture in the back.
Thank you. Next property. 2200 West Kilbourn.
We have 3 nuisanceable offenses at 2200 West Kilbourn, and they're 911 abuse.
Nothing for Ness.
Yes, I spoke with Diane, who runs City on a Hill, and she was not aware of any new issues that was drug dealer related. However, she has been working with Gorman and complaining that there's multiple other issues that's happening within the building that they seem to be dragging their feet on. So she did not have any information on the drug dealing part, but she did say last year there was some noticeable drug dealing that seemed to have stopped, and she wasn't aware that it started back. But we've gotten the reports from I don't know if Lucas is on the call today or on the landlord compact, but Lucas also stated that there was some major drug dealing that was going on in this particular property, and maybe we could talk with Lucas offline with D3.
This is Kelly Brophy. I work for Gorman and Company. We no longer work with Lucas and Citywide Patrol, so he would not be the correct source to discuss this with any further.
Okay.
We are working with Marshall Public Safety, and the drug activity we are unaware of, and we have not had any reported to the office as of recent.
Okay, so you're stating that you are not aware of any drug activity that's going on the property, and that was not so reported, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I know Lucas did state that some of the drug activity was coming from the parking lot that he witnessed a couple times before, and out front, how people would bring things out front and do hand-to-hand transactions.
Lucas has not been a part of our facility since August of 2020.
Oh no, we know it was just something that he said he has seen before recently by just passing by or coming through.
Okay,
He
Next
also
property.
said he has sources from people inside the building that it was drug activity.
Now, can we get the name of your patrol agency or your security team again?
Marshall Public Safety.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next property. $3205 West Juno.
We have 0 nuisanceable offenses at 3205 West Juno.
DNS.
Nothing from DNS.
Next property.
Did they give us any cigarette?
3415.
Another struck.
Just a reminder, please, as far as muting during the meeting until you need to say something. Thank you very much. 3415, 3417 West Kilbourn.
We have 0 calls or nuisanceable calls at both addresses.
DNS.
Nothing from DNS.
Is okay. Next property, is that it for our apartments? Is there okay. We'll get to the businesses if nobody has any questions in regards to any of the residential properties that we just discussed.
And let me ask at this time, since it's the first landlord compact meeting of the year, is there anyone on the call that received a letter in the mail and your address was not on this list?
I say something about, they use all these properties right around us. And
Okay, thank you. And I think we can move forward.
All right.
just to
Nuisance businesses.
Say something good has happened.
Family Dollar, 930 North 27th Street. Calls for service.
There's 0 calls for service at the 930 North 27th Street.
And DNS orders.
Yeah, there's currently monthly re-inspections with Andrea. And also there was a recent graffiti that was put into the system. So that might be getting addressed soon with one of our interns.
Okay, good. Somebody's got some echoing there happening. Okay, so we have somebody with Family Dollar, correct?
Yes, Harry Sussman.
Yes, can you hear me?
Got a little feedback happening.
Yeah, so I could speak to the Family Dollar. Some good news. I know the PD and I believe the Near West Side Partners have asked for some cameras on the side of the building to monitor the streets and to be able to just check in on any kind of traffic or even loitering, that type of thing. We do have new camera systems approved. The request for the outdoor cameras is being looked at as well, but we do have a new camera system that is approved and going to be being installed at the location as well. That date is just to be determined on when that, but it is looking like sometime in the first or second quarter this year. As to the graffiti, I have Andrea's cell phone number, or Andrea. I will give her a call and see exactly what that is and where it's at so that we can put a work order in to have that resolved as soon as possible on that. The store conditions are continuing to improve slightly week over week. We've had much more consistency from the store team and the consistent store manager, Kiera, who was on our call last, I believe in November with us. She's still there. She's still working hard, and we still are trying to do our part to continue to improve the location. not sure when that photo was taken, but it looks like some snow, and I do see that trash can needs to be emptied. So I will circle around that building to look for the graffiti and make sure the parking lot is maintained after this call also. So,
Hey.
So that's just a brief overview of what we're trying to do there and to impact the community in a positive way again. And anyone have any questions?
Yes, I want to know, do you personally work at that store, or do you go into that store at all?
I do not, sir. I am the district manager, not even for this location, but because of my partnerships and working with Bobby and Andrea in the past, I've been kind of overseeing it as I'm kind of the liaison, I'll say, with the inspector, as well as our alderman, trying to get some of these things expedited, through corporate, as well as getting these things resolved quicker than they have been in the past. So I am in Milwaukee. I just have mainly the north side of the Milwaukee area, the 11 stores up there. But I am available. Everyone should have my email and contact information to reach out for me at this location at any time.
Okay, because this picture is actually probably 3 days old, I believe. Yep, 3 days old. This picture is 3 days old. And if Elizabeth, if you click to the next one, please. And this is you guys' garbage behind. This is on the side. Yeah, okay. That's a dumpster area. And then this is also a continuous problem in over in this area with the dumpster area, and even in the parking lot, we have multiple pictures of how it's not being cleaned up. Even at the garbage in front, it's overflow every day. We're out here every day, and we see this every day. And that's a constant thing. Even when we go into the store, we have pictures of the store, how things are just set out and how things are not put up in the right areas, even with food being set out for multiple days. Because we like to visit this place at least twice a week. And every time we visit this place, and I live in the area, I live across the street, right there on 27th Street across from Family Dollars. And this is an ongoing thing with trash, with the loitering. Even with the security that works there, is nothing being to us is nothing being done to fix anything that's going around in that area of the Family Dollars. It's not, and this is something we come to and we talk to the people, even the managers at the place, where this is a constant thing going around with trash, like I said, with the loitering, with the panhandlers that's back and forth through there, with like I said, the lack of security that goes on. And those are some issues that really need to be looked at the Family Dollars in this location.
Okay, Dwayne, thank you very much for that information. I'd like to ask, is there somebody that is supposed to be in charge of this store or of multiple stores that are supposed to be going there on a daily basis?
So we have District Manager Mindy Yoho that you guys have probably seen or met in past. She actually is decided to, just in transparency, step down to be a store manager for us again. So I'm kind of trying to spearhead this as well. So I'll be taking responsibility of that location until we have a new district manager in place. We do have someone hired from Milwaukee. He's currently in training and should be in place within the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Harry, can you talk about the status of you guys' license and when is the next hearing?
Yeah, so the only thing that I know is that it's still, I guess, in adjudication, and I believe that that's supposed to go back to the alderman and the committee. Don't have an actual date on when that decision is to be made on that, but it is going to be happening this year on what the status of that license renewal is going to be in terms of the food license goes. So I don't have an update as to when that actually is. I can reach out to Josh and see Mr. Gimbel and see if he has a date set yet for that.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Appreciate it.
All right. Next one. Next property? Gare Bears, 927 North 27th Street.
All right, for Gare Bears, we have 2 nuisanceable calls. It's going to be a 911 abuse and the subject with weapon complaint.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Next property? Milwaukee Food, 2903 West Clybourne Street.
For that address, we don't have any nuisanceable calls for that location.
Nothing from DNS.
Okay, if I could just step in real quick, Kent. We are currently working with the owners of this location. They have been good community partners. However, I personally have witnessed a lot of illegal activity on the outside of the store that we're addressing with the owner. He is currently working with the second shift B cops in District 2 as well. So I think that's a conversation that we could carry on offline and to see what the status is going forward. He did introduce several new cameras that covers multiple angles as well.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Next property? The Glass Joint, 959 North 27th Street.
We only had 1 call or nuisanceable call, which was a noise nuisance.
DNS?
Graffiti complaint.
Ken, this is Lindsay. I'm wondering if Jessica has any updates on, or somebody from the city has any updates on the status of their tobacco license.
Lindsay, this is Jess. I have not been made aware that they've reapplied for one. So if they did, that would be news to me.
So did we hear last week that they've are changing the inside of this place to start selling food or something? Is that?
Yep, they're doing remodeling to, well, they already have the kitchen and everything up to start selling hot food out of it, and they are still selling tobacco products. From our information, everything is changing over, especially with the people who were owning it before somebody else is coming in that bought the store out. So I don't know if everything is going to change within that time. So
When you say they're still selling tobacco products, and this isn't to question you, but do you have actual proof of that? I was there with ATF when they went in and did the license premise check and they didn't have the license. And like Jessica said, we haven't got any word that they reapplied, but if you're saying that they're still selling tobacco, they're not able to do that right now. So that could be something that we could follow up on.
Oh, they still sell tobacco. I live behind here. My mom, she goes there frequently to buy cigarettes from this place. And people, it's a busy store, and people buy a lot of their most sold product there is probably got to be like blunt wraps, the cigarella wraps. They buy those constantly. And if you would like, we can go in there and take pictures and also send it to that they're still selling tobacco products.
So I think what needs to be key, they can't sell tobacco. So like they can't sell cigarettes, loose tobacco, those other kind of items associated with it. That doesn't, from my understanding, and Officer Hudson, because he was there, can correct me if I'm wrong, like those wraps, they can still sell as long as they're not selling the tobacco.
No, they still sell cigarettes. They sell cigarettes. They still sell cigarettes there. They have it in the back counter. They have it all stacked up on the back counter where they distribute it to the people, but they still sell cigarettes also.
Right. As far as your question goes about taking pictures, I can't tell you to go in there and do that. Put yourself in any kind of situation where they may retaliate against you. It would certainly be helpful, but again, I'm not going to say go and do that. You seem reputable, so I'm gonna take your word for it. And again, it's something that we will follow up with, because like I said, we haven't got any new words that they apply for their license. So I don't want to put you in a situation where you have to go and do something that we're more than capable of doing ourselves.
All right. Thank you very much. We don't have Andrea Solomon with us today, do we?
No, I don't believe she's here.
Okay. Can we follow up with Andrea to see whether or not, so if they're converting this thing into some type of a restaurant to sell hot food or something like that, don't they have to pull permits and actually get a seller's license for hot food?
Yes.
From my
So,
understanding from the last meeting, I believe Andrea said something in that form of that they were applying for a food license.
that they were applying for it, but we don't know they got it yet. Okay. All right, let's follow up and see what's up with that. Okay, anything else with the glass joints? All right, next.
For 2336 West Wisconsin, we don't have any nuisanceable calls there.
Nothing from DNS.
I'm here for that location.
I'm sorry,
I'm here for that location.
which
I don't know.
location? I'm sorry.
The
Oh.
quick pick mark.
Thank you. It just popped up on my screen.
Oh,
Thank you
okay.
very much. 2336 West Wisconsin, quick pick, close for service.
They just said none. I think
we have
they
any-
just said none.
Yeah,
None?
yeah, we have zero. I had answered it. I'm sorry.
No, no worries. Thank you. DNS?
None from DNS.
Okay.
Is there anyone representing MUPD today?
I mean, this is Elizabeth. I got an email from Tom, and he said that he wasn't sure if anyone was going to be able to make it from MUPD today. So they had the information, but he wasn't sure that anyone was going to be able to make it.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
That food truck, we're looking for some help to see how we can get them away from our store, just because there is a lot of people, they are a lot of the trash problem that we have with always having to pick up our property. But that's not our food truck. I had reached out to, I believe it's Sam, and that truck's not ours. They sell soda. I mean, that hinders us from selling soda and stuff. We sell warm food in the store. We sell cold food. Like, that hinders us from making sales. I don't know if there's a way to get them from the side of the building. I don't know if you guys can help with that or what we can do with that. Just because they're selling some of the products that, we have to pay property tax and all that, and they're just riding around in a truck and park right next to our building.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any restrictions as long as they have the proper permit to sell. Just like any food truck anywhere on Water Street or anywhere on the south side in Bayview. There are restrictions, I believe, on time, and but again, I'm not privy to that whole thing. I think we could possibly.
Right, but then we're getting called to the meeting because of nuisance and stuff, and it's kind of their fault.
Let's be honest. I've been here 29 years, so the food truck is something new. The loitering that's happening at the Quick Pick is nothing new. This is year in, year out. It's the same thing.
It still has curved a lot. We've gotten a hold of it a little bit with our security personnel and everything. We have security as soon as it gets dark from 5 till midnight till we close. And then.
But what about during the day? You got one employee in there who doesn't come out from behind the counter, and you've got multiple people in the parking lot loitering all day. So that doesn't, 5 to 9 is great, but what about all day? And it's not the food truck that's bringing those people there. Bringing the people there are generally the sales of high alcohol cheap high alcohol beer that they're coming to purchase. And those are the people who go through the neighborhood causing a whole bunch of problems for all the rest of the landlords.
But we don't
Again,
sell to those people. That's the reason why they try to hang outside and get people to buy for them. But we're telling them to move around. It's hard to tell people, especially now that there's people with mental health issues. You know, it's kind of scary sometimes. I've pushed people out. My dad's pushed people out. It's kind of scary, you know.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at what the parameters are for food trucks and see what that entails, what they can and cannot do. Secondly, you know, one of the things is, I think was sometime in summer of last year, I'm not sure if it was you or your dad, somebody mentioned that you'll be more proactive and call MUPD about loitering and stuff like that. And
we love MUPD. They are doing a great job. They're a lot faster. We call them a lot, and they come and help us a lot with anything that we don't call them a lot, but when we do call them, they're there in minutes. It's not like before you call about someone loitering. It takes, you know, an hour, 2 hours before someone gets there, and then they're long gone by then. Now you call MUPD and they're on it.
Right. And what I'm saying is, now with the weather being colder and things like that, the loitering doesn't exist as long and as often as when the weather is nicer out, even in the winter if it's a nice day. But the thing is, there's nobody inside calling, especially if during the day when you only have one employee and he's taking care of customers, he's not looking outside.
We have 2 employees all day. We have one in the back that does all our stocking and stuff, and then we have someone in the front. So we do have 2 people there.
I can tell you that a few weeks ago, I had to go in there and ask him to call because he had a couple guys that were actually kicked out of the parking structure, the Ambassador, for doing drugs and sleeping there. And they sat in your parking lot for several hours. When they left, there was a discarded backpack full of needles and other items. And again, and he never called. I asked him to call and he never called. So I think we need to help educate the employees that are there to monitor that, because it's not being done. It's just not. Like I said, I'm around the corner. I see that place 25 times a day. I'm in and out of there, back and forth and around the building. Again, I see the same people there all the time. I think they just need to do a better job of making those calls and getting the point across to these people that they can't hang there, and that you have to call MUPD. As you say, they're going to come out. They're willing to come out, and they're quick to come out. And the more we can do this, and it doesn't hurt you. This is not something that is going to go against your record, but it's going to help curb the problem so something doesn't happen against the quick pick. That's my only point bringing it up. But again, we'll look into the food truck, but the employees have to do a better job there during the day.
Mr. Lozoya, if I pronounced your name correctly, forgive me if I did not. I was in a hearing, I think it was maybe a week or 2 ago, and you guys were ordered to remove your slot machines.
That was done that same night. That was done within 3 hours after the meeting.
So there's, just for the record, there's no slot machines in your store anymore?
There's none in there. You can go in there and check. There's none in there. It just, when we applied the first time, we didn't get the thing, but we didn't know we needed them. And then our vendor person was like, hey, you need to get that. So then we're like, okay, so we applied for it. But when we got the letter that we had to go to the meeting, it got there after we had the meeting. Like, I don't know, with COVID and everything was messed up in the middle of summer. So then we just kept them and we reapplied again, not knowing how bad it was to have them. So we took that out of the renewal and took out the machines right away. That way, next time we can go for it the right way and get the permit before we can bring the machines in the right way. So that's the reason for that. I think we're going to have to call a little bit more. I mean, if MUPD was on the thing, they would see that we do place calls. My thing is, our hands are tied. We go, we get the restraining orders on these people. What is the cops can't even take them to jail right now because it's not a violent crime or a drug crime or whatever the case may be that you need to do.
Mr. Lozoya,
you can cite them again, and then that's it. Because I have another store, and we've done that too. And it's it doesn't help. The people come back regardless. We don't serve them. They sit out there and beg other people to bring them in. I mean, calling the cops, to be honest, for them to get another ticket, for them not to go to jail. I mean, right now with this COVID stuff, it's a game for them.
Mr.
You know?
Lazoya,
Yes.
what I recommend is that we set a meeting aside with yourself and our assistant district attorney and district 3 police and see where we can go from here. You mentioned that you've gotten a restraining order in the past. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I've gotten
something
a
that we need to revisit. So we could take this conversation offline and we'll reach out for you to set up a meeting. Would that be good?
Yeah, that'll be cool.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. I
I
appreciate
just
it.
feel like we're all between a rock and a hard place because the police can't really take them to jail anymore because it's not, like I said, a violent crime. So they're just pretty much free to roam and cause problems as well. And we're paying $300, taking 2 hours out of our time to go get these restraining orders, and it's really not doing anything for us anymore.
Okay.
Before they would actually go to jail. Now they just get a slap on the wrist and we'll see you once the COVID restrictions are over.
Okay. Again, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your participation in our meetings. Next property, we got to keep rolling here. We're got 4 minutes to.
All right, thank you.
2502 West Wisconsin. We don't have any nuisanceable calls on our radar.
Apologize, that should not have made the business list because of the graffiti. Okay. That went out to a letter. Next property. 901 North 27th Street, Kilbourn Market, calls for service.
We only have one nuisanceable call, which was a 911 abuse.
911 abuse from the store. Okay, interesting.
Got a question there, Kent.
Yeah.
I know we're running on short time, but there was a fight that was in front of the store. There was no calls for service for that fight?
Let me check. I didn't see one, but I can certainly pull it up now if you give me just 1 second.
And Officer Hudson, please don't feel like you have to do that right now. That's something that we can continuously touch bases about, because the bigger concern is that it's getting lost in translation if there wasn't a call for service for that incident. So we can talk about that later.
I'm actually looking. There was no fight call for service that I'm seeing right now.
Okay.
Okay, there's a video that we could talk about.
Yep.
So here's the other thing, Bobby. Remember, the call might not have come into that specific address. It might have just come into the corner of, 27th. Okay. And so then if it's not tied to that specific address, it won't show up when Officer Hudson looks at it, even if it's happened right outside. If the caller doesn't give that specific address.
Okay.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Okay. So what we have established with a 191 abuse is that nobody's calling for all the loitering or problems that exist over there at the store, within the store. So we'll make note of that. Next property. 949 North 27th Street, Boost Mobile.
All right, we had 3 calls for service or nuisanceable calls, which consisted of a trouble with subject, armed robbery, and an entry complaint.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Okay. I think that should be it for properties. Bobby, you want to finish?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I was writing Kent. As you guys can see in this flyer, it's a survey. We encourage that all residents in the Near West Side Partners area, take a survey, let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how we could help in some problems or issues that we could focus on and work on together. So if you see we got the barcode now, so you can scan this and then it'll take you to the survey and submit the survey once you're completed with it. I'm asking that property managers send this to their tenants and hopefully give them the encouragement to the survey, as well as the property managers. And if you guys need more information regarding it, please contact me offline.
Thank you.
Again, what we do at the end of every meeting, we provide a list of numbers and list of contact information to where anyone that was on the call today could reach out and contact us at the Waypoint office at 1201 Q North 35th Street, the non-emergency police number, Assistant District Attorney Jessica Bowinger, the Near West Side ambassadors, and also where you can call MPD District 3.
All
Our
right.
next meeting, well, before I do our next meeting, there was in the comments, in the chats, there was a few. One of the comments was made is that they just wanted us to mention, was anyone familiar with new rental housing resource center, RHRC, MKE, in the Community Advocates Building? Another one's 2501 West Kilbourn, appears to be a 10-unit apartment building. On a good note, that in the heart of these nuisance properties, I would like to note an uplifting event in the neighborhood. In a vacant lot on the corner of 29th and Wells, there was a lighted Christmas tree, and many people were observed singing Christmas carols and coming to look at the 40-foot high tree. Regarding the Family Dollar, there is a status conference scheduled for January 29th. And well, that's another one we take offline, and PowerPoint is available. All right, that's all that we had in the comment section for this meeting. Next meeting will be February 11th, 2021, same time, 1 p.m. on Thursday. I'd like to thank everyone for participating, and I look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I just want to comment that we actually started at 1:07. It is now 2:08. Bobby is the one responsible for bringing us over the hour. So Lindsay, you cannot yell at me for being late.
That's all right. We won't yell at you until the end of the year.
See how consistent I am. Okay, again, thank you, everybody, from joining us.